General comments. If additional specimens are found of any kind, if you're sampling hair, scat, tissue, whatever it is, each specimen that you collect, you use the same procedure every time with different sterile equipment. You don't use the same gloves. You don't use the same swab. You don't use the same tweezers. You don't use the same pipette. You don't use the same vial. Everything's separated, labeled clearly, and you can list that in your field notes. So you know this vial is this vial is this envelope of hair is this. Keep it in order so you know what you're sending people. Okay. A note on note taking. Your notebook, field journal, pre-programmed forms. Something I've developed for myself are forms, which I made up on Word, which are designed to interrogate whatever scene you come upon. All the information you would need to document a track or a trackway is on these forms. So you're not going by memory. The form's doing it for you, and you fill it in as you go to make sure that you maximize the amount of information that you can get out of that particular piece of evidence. So if you do have it, if you find a trackway and you cast all 4 prints and you send them off to Dr. Meldrum to look at, and he's starting to ask you questions, you can answer them. That'll help put it into context for him, and he will be able to go a lot further with it than he would if you had nothing except for the tracks, if that makes some sense. The conclusion. Again, Joseph Grinnell. I found this book, it was on Amazon. It was written in 1980 by a guy named Stephen G. Herman, and it's called The Naturalist Field Journal. And in it, he discusses the Grinnell method of observation and note-taking. Again, a system that scientists, biologists, ecologists, whoever they are familiar with this or some variation thereof. To document whatever find, whether it's a beetle, a new species of bird, bear scat, or for our purposes, possibly a Sasquatch. In it, it details that method. And as long as you're using some kind of method to document, to get as much information out of anything you find, as a layperson, as someone, if you're not a doctor, you don't have a degree, if you try, this information's online. You can find it. Biologists aren't holding their cards tight to the chest. They're not, you can find this stuff anywhere. If you look. And I think if you apply these techniques to something that might be Bigfoot gold, instead of squandering that find and completely ruining it, so now that it's worthless, you collect it the best way you can, get it to who it needs to go to. That increases the chances that they're going to be able to come back and say, hey, you got some, I don't know what this is. It might come back, they might give you an answer that you were looking for. Here, a passage from that book that I just held up. Stephen Herman says, this is something that kind of stuck with me. He says, no good field work can be reliable without a written record set down in the field. No record kept in the head can be as accurate or precise as one in writing. So don't recall it and tell me about it 6 months later. I want to read what you wrote seconds after it happened. That's when that information is going to be most accurate, most valuable. Write it down. And something that Dr. Halfpenny impressed on me when we were tracking. He said, be a natural history detective. I think a lot of you, whether you know it or not, are natural history detectives. Sasquatch is a natural history mystery. You are an investigator. Don't wed yourself to one clue and then make a determination. Look at all the clues and see what it tells you. Write everything down, even stuff that wouldn't seem necessarily important. It might be later. So, remember, be a natural history detective. Hold it. I'm not done yet. We've got 2 more hours. No, I was kidding. Here, I have some of the works that I cited are referenced here. Something that I heard that stuck with me was, trust in God, in all others we must verify. Mm-hmm. And that makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. That includes this presentation. Don't take my word for it. If you want to come up and write this down or talk to me later, I can give you the scientific references that I use to put this together. You can read it yourself. So this is not my word. I'm passing it along. And again, the goal was not to tell you something you don't know, but to impress upon you maybe certain principles that are very important and possibly enhance the research that you're doing. And you can use these materials to do that. You really can. There's nothing new under the sun. And anything that's done to research the existence of mountain lions in Georgia can be done to research the presence of Sasquatch in Georgia. Because like I said, he's there just like they are. He craps in the woods. He walks around in the mud just like they do. He eats blackberries. When it's raining, I imagine he probably doesn't want to be standing in it. So these techniques can be used for the Sasquatch like they can be used for anything else. That is all I'm trying to say. And that is it.